Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to give you guys a full guide for Pierce, breaking down literally everything about him, giving you guys some pro tips along the way as well. So Pierce is a brawler. The better you are at Brawl Stars, the better Pierce will feel, because the more shots you hit, the more ammo you get, and you can basically get infinite ammo if you never miss. So he has some really cool mechanics. Let's just take a look at the basics first. His health 6,000, which is similar to brawlers like Brock and Mandy. So he's not like one of the squishiest snipers, but he's definitely still like the medium size, still a little bit squishy in comparison to most brawlers inside of the game. So his damage works a little bit different in comparison to other brawlers. So 1,900 with his first 2 ammo, and then as you can see there, he pees in his gun, and that pea-filled shot deals 3,000 damage, and with the star power slows them. So you want to make sure, basically, well, you'll go into some better tips. You just want to be making sure you land that last shot, of course, because it deals so much damage. So the range is very good with him. So the range is exactly the same as a Piper's, and that just goes to show how good he is. You think of Piper, she has one of the largest ranges inside of the game, and it's the same with Pierce. So if anything, you know, Pierce can be a lot more impactful, especially on those mid-range maps. So reload speed, especially when you waste all of your ammo. So let's just say here, 3 seconds to fully fill it up, which can be a little bit annoying, especially when it's like an assassin or something chasing you down. The projectile speed is the same as other snipers like Piper and Bell, and the supercharge as well is 6 hits if you're just dealing normal damage. It takes 4 hits if you're dealing maximum damage, which you can chain a lot of the time if you think about it. So you can see here I'm just constantly chaining those shots. I'm going to be charging super much quicker. So essentially, the more damage you're dealing, the quicker your supercharges, which you should know that already. And also the homing projectiles will also charge up your super as well. So every single time they pick up a shell, a homing projectile will fire to the nearest enemy, and you can see there that it's roughly about 9%, apparently this is what it says on Brawl Wiki. I think it's actually about 8% in terms of how quickly you can charge up with super, so that is definitely helpful as well. So the super, if you guys are wondering, the super, it marks an area. At first I was a little bit confused with how it works, but you can just see here you've got this timer that goes around it. I think it's like literally a second or so, and then after that timer expires, you will fire out a homing projectile. So it might look a little bit confusing there, but you can see here, 1 projectile, 3,200 damage. The more opponents that are caught inside that super, the more damage it will deal, and you basically can't miss. It's literally homing, so it will land onto that opponent every single time. And if you capture like 2 people within inside of this, you'll get like 2 pieces of ammo back. So you want to be trying to hit people that are in a group, essentially. So those are the basics with Pierce. So moving on to the gadgets. Gadget number 1 is called Bottomless Mags. So every single time you click this gadget, it actually gives you 2 pieces of ammo. So you can see here, it reloads 1 ammo instantly, and it drops another shell. So essentially you're getting 2 pieces of ammo for the price of 1, which is so good. It's only a 13-second cooldown as well. The reason why this is so good, again, I'll go with some tips later on, but again, say you've depleted all of your ammo, you get a fully charged shot that deals 3,000 damage, and then you get to deal another one as well. So making sure you're literally using that gadget when you're completely out of ammo and it's just broken. Gadget number 2 is called You Only Brawl Twice. So instead of gaining ammo, you actually lose your ammo with this gadget, but you gain a shield. So let's just say here, I've got 3 shells on the ground right here. I can soak them all up, and it will give me a 3,200 shield, which depletes really fast. It reminds me of Edgar's gadget, but essentially this gadget could be good against like assassins, because I'll show in a second once these shells disappear, because at least say if a mortis is dashing onto you, and even if you have no shells, you still get a knockback, and well, you just get a knockback basically, which is still good for a sniper, right? You think of like Piper's knockback some time ago, it used to be very, very strong. So I can see the kind of synergy here with this one. Say if you hit like multiple shots in a row and then use your super to land more shots. I mean, this is like, of course I'm not going to gain that amount of shield in the real game, but to say if it's like 4 or 5 pieces of ammo, or 3 at least, if you're just chaining a lot, it can be good, but I don't really see the benefits of this gadget in comparison to the other one. This is more of a defensive gadget. So now moving on to the star power. Star power number 1 is called Mission Swim Impossible. I don't know. It's tongue twister. Right. So with this star power, your last ammo will not only, of course, deal a lot of damage, it will also slow them for 1 second. So you could get some permanent slows in here. This is a very, very good star power, because of course, literally Slowing someone is one of the best features, especially for a sniper. Think of B, it allows you to hit more shots. So again, say if you've got your gadget available, or you've just got some pieces of ammo here, you can slow the opponent. They're easy to hit. Pop your gadget. Yeah, you're going to be chaining loads of shots. And think of it like if it's a Frank or a Bull or someone that's just stuck in the mud, you could just be spamming unlimited slows and ammo at them. It's a very toxic star power. Next we have star power number 2. It's called Slip and Snipe. To be honest, I've never used this star power because it doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, it's quite cool. So you gain a 15% movement speed boost every single time you pick up a shell, which I don't know if it stacks or not. Let's just see here if we get as many shells as possible. But I think it's it's not stacking like the Shade Super used to. So I guess it's cool, you know, extra movement speed can be pretty good, especially to win 1 versus 1s. But I think for the most part, I mean, it could be a little bit underrated. I think it's because first star power is just so strong. Yeah, I don't know. It can be good in 1 versus 1 situations. We'll have to wait and see how they kind of balance Pierce in the future. But yeah, I don't really enjoy this star power, especially because the boost that it gives you is only a short, quick one. It's not really beneficial. So now let's go into his best build. So with Pierce, both gadgets do have their uses, especially if you're up against assassins. But I still think if you're up against assassins, that this gadget is the better one. Of course, with balance changes, and if anything changes in the future, I'll just do videos updating you guys. But Bottomless Mags is definitely the best one right now. You get 2 pieces of ammo for the price of 1, which is insane. Stop powers as well. I use Swim Impossible every single time. So you want this combination every game pretty much here with Pierce. And then because Pierce is on the squishy side, you want damage and the shield. I wouldn't put you past going like the health gear as well on Sniper, can be pretty good. But for most part, you want that damage and shield. So this is the best build right here. So now let's move on to Pierce's best game modes. And they're going to be 3 game modes in particular. The first one is Hot Zone. So the reason why Pierce is so good in Hot Zone is because there's a lot of good maps for Pierce. For like snipers wise, think of Ring of Fire and a few of like Open Business. There's a lot of good wall breakers in the meta like Frank that's just going to play into his hands, but it's mainly because he's a good controller. You think of his super, you think of him just having a lot of ammo. They're going to be rushing you down and you're just never going to be short of ammo in that sense. So I think he's a really good damage dealer. So Hot Zone's going to be good for him in the middle. Bounty's going to be good for him. I think Knockout might be a little bit harder just because in Knockout you see a lot of like sniper counters, throwers, and also just like Nanny and Mandy, etc. can just outrange probably Pierce a little bit better. It's still good in Knockout, but Bounty's definitely going to be a bit better just because there's more like mid-range maps there. He can also just use the slow star power and just his pure damage output to just be a lot more beneficial in that game mode. And then lastly, Brawl Ball. So he's going to be the best free Brawl Ball. You do got to be a little bit careful of the aggressive brawlers, but again, I feel like Pierce likes the tankier options because he can just get unlimited ammo from them, especially if they're sitting duck with the slow. So Brawl Ball is very good for him. Now let's talk about the best matchups with Pierce. So Pierce as a sniper, he's going to like a nice open map. So just think of that in terms of his best use cases. You don't really want to be using Pierce too often on those bushier maps, just because you think of like other snipers, they're just not good there as well, because you miss a couple of shots, you will be punished. So nice mid-range / longer range map, but mid-range brawlers without spawnable gadgets are going to be your best matchup. So I don't know, just think of an open map. There's just so many that I can name. He's going to outrange them, right? And if you just purely hit a couple of shots, you're going to be able to chain shots. Most brawlers are going to be dead in 2 or 3 shots, especially those big ones. So yeah, mid-range brawlers most of the time on those mid-range maps are going to be good. There's just too many to name. And then tanks as well. So tanks are very, very good for Pierce because again, he has unlimited ammo. It's not like other snipers again, where after a brief amount of time, tanks can still get into their face because of their reload speed or just purely their damage isn't, you know, like Piper deals less damage up close. But with Pierce, he's just ramping up the damage the more shots he hits, so making it impossible for some tanks like Frank to push into a Pierce once he starts chaining those shots. So I'm finding tanks probably the most fun matchup for Pierce and probably the best. So with Pierce's worst matchups, you probably guessed it from what I said in the best matchups, spawnables are some of Pierce's worst matchups. This is mainly because with Pierce, you've got to wait a whole 3 seconds to fully reload your ammo, which is really bad. Specifically, I've had a few matchups in ranked where I'm facing off against Ruff's sandbag gadget, and it literally can't even take down one of those sandbags with 1 ammo. Like, it literally takes 6 ammo to take down all of Ruff's sandbags, and by the time you've taken them all down, Ruff's has probably killed you, or he's got another set of sandbags. So yes, if Ruff's sandbags and just other spawnables, I don't know, like Spike's life plant or a Nita bear chasing you down or a Jesse turret, You can take them down with Pierce, but it just takes you a very, very long time. It's very annoying. So yeah, any kind of spammable gadget spawnable is very frustrating for a Pierce. So now let's move on to the casual tips then. So I've got about 4 or 5 casual tips, which for the most part will just help you improve and just think differently about Pierce. So first off, his super has a 1-second timer. So make sure to aim your super directly on top of brawlers or predict their movements. It's pretty easy to hit this super for the most part. But again, you kind of got to think of what brawler you're using your super against. So for example, do you really want to use your super against like a Kenji or Mortis or a Kaze? For the most part, probably not. It might be a bit too risky because they can dash out of that super radius, or a super fast brawler like, I don't know, Max or something like that. But if you're just throwing it against like a normal speed brawler, like a Spike or something along those lines, then it should be pretty easy to hit. Sometimes you can even auto-aim it and hit most of the time. But like I said, just try to aim in the center and you shouldn't miss. Casual tip number 2 is to try to not stand next to a wall whilst playing Pierce, and especially when you hit shots. This is because a lot of the time when you're hitting shots, your shell will drop below, like around you, in and around you, and it won't take you too long to just run to it and pick it up. But if you're around a wall or directly literally on a wall, most of the time the ammo, not all the time, but most of the time it will fly over that wall, and then it's going to be more awkward, right? You've got to then walk around the wall. That might be where the enemy is literally hiding. So just try and stand a little bit like, I'm thinking triple dribble. You just stand in the middle of the walls. I know it might be a little bit too predictable, but it's going to allow you to pick up your ammo much faster, which will make you less vulnerable. So yeah, you want to try and make it as less awkward as possible. So don't stand close to the wall too much. So casual tip number 3 is to realize how to utilize Pierce the best. And that's all about really focusing, trying to hit that critical damage. Of course, most people are going to be doing that anyway, right? Like, you're extra going to be sweating when you have that 3k shot available, but it's just really, really essential because that just allows you to change shots a lot easier. It allows you to kill enemies easier. It allows you to cycle through and get more shells. It allows you to build up more super, and that's just the way that you play Pierce, in my opinion. It's just really kind of like this domino effect. You get that slow, and then everything just starts working out for you. Of course, it's a little bit harder to just always hit shots with Pierce because he's a sniper. At the end of the day, they're pretty difficult to play, especially on a nice open map. But you just really got to focus on hitting the shots. I can't stress it enough, guys, especially that slow. There's not a lot of brawlers, if any brawlers, that have literally a slow build into their main attack. So utilize Pierce that way because it's such a broken ability. Casual tip number 4 is just a quick tip, really. It's that your ammo shells will disappear after 8 seconds if you don't pick them up. So just knowing this is quite crucial, as you always want to manage your ammo pretty well, and it get like in your head, you don't have to be counting like 6, 7, 8, oh, it's gone. You won't be doing that in a real game because you've got focusing on too many things, but you will kind of just get the feeling right, especially after like 5 seconds. You'll know, okay, it's about the time they're going to disappear. I've got to try and position myself to pick that up before it goes, because you're essentially wasting value if you don't pick up the ammo shell. Even if you're at full ammo, it's still going to fly a projectile. So just thought I'd mention that tip. So casual tip number 5 literally ties into casual tip number 4. It's just a good fact to always pick up your shells even at maximum ammo. So a lot of people might just see the ammo shells and think, oh well, I don't need to pick it up, I've got full ammo, right? Well, no, because the good thing is it still fires off that homing projectile, which can still charge up your super, which can still just deal damage, right? And it can stop the opponents from regenerating health. So again, say if you have maximum amount of ammo and your super's fully built up, you still might think, well, what's the point picking it up? But it stops the opponents from regenerating. It might not be a lot of damage, but it's just still an annoying factor for them to deal with. So yeah, I just always recommend picking up the shell, even if you don't think it's going to benefit you. Most of the time it actually will. So now we're going to be moving on to the pro tips. So a lot of these tips are the reason why I can play Pierce at such a high level, and maybe some people don't know them. The thing about Pierce and just snipers in general, it's not like a lot of tech that you can really learn with these types of brawlers. You can do cool tricks, but a lot of them don't really benefit you. But here are like 4 that will really benefit you. So for me, you can really abuse the last clip damage, and I've already stressed that enough in the casual tips. But with some simple tricks, you can always get that slow shot. So always shoot before picking up another clip, essentially. So what I try and do is, say if there's like a clip on the floor and I'm just about to pick it up, I'm making sure I'm just shooting that shot, because again, I want to be cycling the maximum amount of damage as possible, and I want to be slowing them. Even if I don't think I'm going to hit anyone, I'm just firing at that shot anyway, just because you're getting ammo back quite frequently through a lot of different avenues with Pierce. So just make sure that you're, again, before you're picking up that clip, just shoot it off, because then you're always remaining at one piece of ammo, which is kind of hard to learn in your brain, right? Because in your brain with other snipers, you don't want to be just wasting ammo silly, just a silly amount of times, but with Pierce you do, because that's just the best way to utilize him. So yeah, you're dealing more damage and you're dealing it consistently, and you're going to be slowing enemies consistently with this trick. So you just see a lot of times I'm just spamming shots just because I can. So pro tip number 2 might again seem kind of simple, but this is just one way of abusing the last clip damage, as I said in pro tip number 1. So making sure that you use your gadget when you literally have 0 ammo. It might be good for you. You might think, okay, so if I'm at 2 ammo, let's just reload it, right? I have 3 ammo now, that's good, right? No, you want to be making sure that you literally have 0 ammo, because you could even just say you have that one piece of ammo and then you slow someone, and then you could just gadget, and then you have another critical shot. But like I said, with the first gadget, you basically get 2 shots because you drop that shell as well. So you shoot that second critical shot, and then you pick up that shell. That means you get a 3rd critical shot, and in succession you see just how quickly you can rack up the damage with Pierce, just knowing these strategies. So it's just all about that micromanagement of that last shot, and trust me, you can it's just crazy. And just with the gadget in general, say if you're just shooting out shots randomly, just literally clicking your gadget, you have 2 critical hit shots with a click of 1 green button. So yeah, I think that gadget is too strong, probably. Pro tip number 3 is actually a hilarious one, because I'm pretty much just telling you guys to auto aim at some point. So which, yeah, I think some people underestimate the power of it, especially once you've slowed a tank. The reason why I'm saying this is because you can just put out some insanely abhorrent damage. I don't know whether he's going to get nerfed in the future where he doesn't get unlimited ammo basically, but let's just say there's just simply too many ways to get your ammo back, right? You got your super, you got your gadget, you just got purely hitting your shots. You've got so many different ways to gain back ammo. But actually, if someone's slowed like a tank, like a Frank in particular, I've happened to do it against Frank so many times, just spam your ammo, because it doesn't matter if you're missing shots, you're just eventually going to get more ammo back through a different avenue. Literally, it's near enough impossible to waste ammo, because you've just always got it readily available to you. And like I said, if a tank is slow, it's literally GG for them, because you're going to be cycling supers. You just got to be putting out purely so much damage, and you're slowing them so they can't even reach you in time. They're just unlimitedly slowed. It's so toxic. So yeah, spam auto aim at like a medium distance, and you're going to be dealing literally infinite damage. So the last pro tip, again, I can't really think of too many like meta defining pro tips with Pierce, because he's just like Bell in a sense. So it's just like down to your pure aim, which I guess I could give you aiming tips, and this is kind of one of them. So think of Pierce like Bell, right? I know I've highlighted so many times how you want to abuse that one last shot mechanic, but against like the better players, think of Pierce a little bit like Bell, how you would shoot your shots there. So making sure that you're shooting kind of 2 shots in rapid succession. I guess you could still use this point with the gadget trick, right? So say if you have 1 piece of ammo and you just shoot it off, quickly gadget, you've got another ammo straight away. And if you shoot 2 shots basically at the same point, even if your enemy jukes one of the shots, they're probably not going to juke the second shot. So it's always better with snipers in particular to kind of shoot 2 shots at the same time, which again might be a little bit harder with the kind of the way that you want to play Pierce with just 1 ammo, right? But like I said, if you're hitting that shot, you could quickly pick up your shell and you're shooting 2 shots at the same time. And again, with a gadget, or just if you miss all of your shots, then you have those 3 pieces of ammo available, and you can just do this trick. So I guess there's kind of tips to every kind of ammo you have remaining. Yeah, there's a lot of ammo talk here, but trust me, your ammo management is definitely by far the most crucial thing about Pierce, which is why I think he's such a fun brawler, but also a pretty tough brawler to make work, because you're constantly trying to manage it. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
What?